warm in the winter. First, let's think of some winter animals. What are some animals that you know of that love and live in the winter? Not like dogs or cats, but like animals that live in cold weather. Well, there are Arctic foxes, leopard seals, narwhals, penguins, polar bears, and reindeers. Many of these animals live either in the Arctic or Antarctica, or really far north or really far south. How cold do you think it gets in either the Antarctic or Antarctica? Or in either the Arctic or Antarctica? Well, in the wintertime, the average temperatures in the Arctic are between negative 30 degrees and can be between negative 30 and negative 90 degrees. Here in North Carolina, our cold weather is like 20s, not even close to being in the negatives. In the summertime in Antarctica, the weather is usually between 37 and 50 degrees. That's how cold it is usually here in the wintertime. In the summertime in the Arctic, their summers are as warm or as cold as our winters. That's crazy. Antarctica, though, is even colder. It is the coldest continent on this planet. Usually in the summertime, the summer temperatures are between 10 and 20 degrees. 10 and 20 degrees for their summertime. That's colder than it gets here in North Carolina. So here in North Carolina, while we're in the summertime and we're living through mid 80s to mid 90 degree heat, their summer is colder than our winter. In the wintertime, temperatures don't even get anywhere close to positive, to zero. It's always totally in the negative. So because of this, how do animals stay warm in such cold temperature? I mean, as humans, when it gets cold outside, we layer up with jackets and sweaters and sweatpants and beanies and mittens and heavy coats and all the things. But animals, they don't have clothes to wear. So how do they stay warm? Well, many animals like polar bears, like penguins, like seals, all those animals, they rely on blubber or fat to keep them warm. Polar bears, they have about 10 inches of blubber or fat. This is 10 centimeters. This is 10 centimeters. This is how fat this is how much fat a polar bear has, and this is solely to keep them warm in the wintertime. On top of this fat, they have 15 centimeters of super, super thick fur. So this is how thick their fur is. So imagine you see a polar bear, you have the fat and then you have the fur on top of it. That is a lot. That's super warm, and that helps polar bears stay warm in the wintertime, or in the Antarctica and Antarctic. Penguins, they also have a lot of fat on their bodies, and they also huddle in large groups to help trap in the heat in their groups, so they can help stay warm. Also, their black feathers reflect the sun's heat, which helps keep them warm. But what about in the winter? But what about those animals that swim? Seals, narwhals, even penguins, even polar bears, they go swimming. Because a lot of times the water in both Antarctic and the Antarctica, it doesn't get above -1 degree. But it never freezes because of all the salt in the water, so they can still swim. Well, to stay warm, especially for the seals, they actually have a layer of air that they trap around them. Well, their fur is so dense that it traps a layer of air around them to help keep them warm, which is really cool. However, for us humans, we don't have fur, and there's no way I can trap air around my body to keep me warm when I go outside. So we are going to we're going to test this hypothesis, okay? Science says that animals stay warm by having fat on their bodies to stay warm. So we're going to test it, okay? I have right here a bucket of ice and water. In a second, I'm going to stick my hand into ice and water. I'm going to time myself, see how long my hand can stay within this bucket of ice and water. Then we're going to do an experiment where we are going to try to create our own fat in order see if it helps stay warmer, okay? So I'm gonna count out loud because I don't have a timer with me, okay? So ready? 1, 2, 3. That's so cold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, yep. 10 seconds. Oh, that's so cold. Oh, okay. That hurts. Honestly, it's so cold, it hurts. Okay, 1 second. Let me get some more paper towels. All right, so I lasted for 10 seconds with just my hand in this bucket of ice and water. And this ice has been out of the freezer for maybe about 20 minutes at this point. So if I can barely last 10 seconds, there's no way I could last living in the Arctic or Antarctica without something to help me keep me warm. So now we're going to test that. I'm going to wear some gloves because this part's going to get a little bit nasty. But for this experiment, I have lard. Literally snow-capped lard from the Walmart. And we are going to create a baggie of this stuff and see if it helps to keep our hands warm. So what I'm going to do is going to lay this paper towels out here. I'm going to open up this bag. I have a gallon-sized bag. You can really use any size bag that you need. I'm using gallon-sized bag because this is what I have. I would suggest no smaller than a quart size, just because you need room for your hand to go inside the bag. Don't worry, we're not sticking your hand directly in the lard, but you need your hand to fit in the bag nonetheless. So, open up this box here. Not glad, it's kind of gross. It's squishy. Okay. Alright, so I have this. And really, I'm just going to cut this in small pieces. Ew. This feels really weird. And try to get in there without getting it on the sides, on the outside of the bag. You don't want to fill up this entire bag. You really just need it to be about half to 2/3 of the way full. And you'll determine that by how big your bag is. I might have to use this whole thing because I have such a big bag, but we will see. Anyone's wondering, yeah, this feels really weird and it's kind of gross. So we're gonna kind of squish that in there, squish it up. I don't want it to be on the outside of the bag. I want to keep the outside bag as clean as I possibly can. And now that gross part is over with. I'm gonna throw that away, thankfully, along with my gloves. Hang on. Okay. Now we're going to take our other bag, and I'm going to stick my hand inside this bag, and I want to stick this into the first bag, like such. We're going to stretch it up some. And we're going to take the outside, and we're going to take the inside bag, and we're going to bend the sides down over the outside bag. And this is to help keep all that lard. And lard, by the way, is animal fat. So, a little pro tip for all the bakers out there. And this is to help keep all of what we just put in this baggie stay in the bag and not come out. And now I'm going to take trusty old duct tape. And there it is. Maybe. And I'm gonna duct tape the two bags together. Once again, I just want to keep all of the stuff in the bag, and not have it come squirting out of me, because that would be really gross. Make sure, yeah. Just like this, mostly. So, now that my two bags are together, my hand is now in the clean bag that's in the very center. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try to move this animal fat around some. Move this out of the way real quick. Drop your towels out of the way. Move this around some here. I want to get this animal fat kind of spread all around. Don't know how I did that without poking a hole, but we're going to try and see. I maybe should have spread it around before I take the bags. Didn't think of that, but we'll do it anyway. So, I've been wondering what is this experiment going to do, and why am I using lard/animal fat? Well, like we just learned in our lesson, animals, winter animals, polar bears, penguins, seals, reindeer, Arctic foxes, they all have super thick fur, and they all have lots of fat. Animal fat, lard, which is in this bag, to help keep them warm. Like I said, polar bears have 10 centimeters of this stuff on their bodies in order to stay warm. So our experiment is we have lard or animal fat here, and our hypothesis is if we create kind of like a glove, essentially, where our hand is going to be surrounded by something similar. Obviously, we can't have actual animal fat, but something similar, which is lard. And I'm going to stick my hand, once this glove is complete, back inside this bowl of ice, if I'll be able to last longer in the ice than I can without it. Essentially, we're going to see if we can replicate how animals stay warm here in 40-degree North Carolina. Side point, I would really love it if we had like some good old snow. I want a blizzard. I really do. All right, so I've got, since I can't have that, I got this. So I have my glove. Not the best ever made. The bag is too big for my hand, but that's okay. Once again, I'm gonna stick this into this thing of ice, and we're gonna see if it holds up better than my hand without any help on it, okay? So, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, hang on. I gotta get in there now. Whoop, without getting water sloshing all around. However, props to this, I can like hardly feel the heat whatsoever. Yeah, that's really weird. Like I can't even feel the cold. I mean, the parts of the bag that don't have a lot of lard around it, I can kind of feel a little bit of the coldness, but for the most part, I can't even feel. It feels like my bucket, it feels like my hand's not even a bucket of ice. That's really cool. Yeah, I could sit here all day and I'd be perfectly fine. So imagine, like, if I can sit here all day, my hand completely immersed in a bowl of ice and water, and all I have is just a thin layer of lard or animal fat around my hand. Imagine how warm polar bears are with 10 centimeters this thick of lard on their bodies, followed by this thick of fur on their bodies. They live in Antarctica, where the weather, and the Arctic, where the weather never sees above 0 degrees. Well, in summertime they'll go between 10 and 20 degrees. But that's so cold. So no wonder they stay so warm, and sometimes they have to cool themselves off because they get so hot. And I can see why, because I'm totally good. Like, my hand doesn't even feel cold. I don't even know if my hand can even like register there's a different temperature happening inside this bucket right now. So I guess animal fat really does work for the animals that live in the Arctic or in the Antarctica. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for today's STEAM lesson. I hope to see you guys again live very soon.